Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots, their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Paul. How are you doing, man? Did I just call you Coast? Pretty sure I did.
You combine some words. I do that all the time.
Yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
We'll do it live.
We always do. How you doing, man?
Another day in paradise.
No horrors or horrors or whatever.
No horrors. The horrors do persist.
Okay.
But I try not to focus on them during the golden age in the same way that I used to.
I like that answer. It's much more optimistic than I'm used to. Are you okay?
No.
Okay. Well, we should have a fun show tonight. Plenty to discuss. It's been a interesting week, to say the least. Every week's a little interesting, a lot interesting. But we're going to talk about some social media behaviors and some paid posting. We're going to talk about Elon at the Pentagon and how that whole thing blew up. We could probably even talk about Tesla's blowing up because that's happening as well. We'll get into shakeup at NATO and the combatant commanders, which is really interesting. What else we can talk about? We have more AUTOPEN update. Trump basically confirming everything we said last week on the show. We got lots.
Yeah. I mean, we got Commonwealth.
Yep.
And what do we have? The Spaceman Splashdown was this week. And if you remember, I thought it was so weird yesterday when they announced the F-47 to be made by Boeing. The reason that SpaceX had to go retrieve the astronauts stuck on Gilligan's Island in space was because Boeing was like a DEI plane crash company.
But they have the contract now,
I guess.
Yeah, and they even like phrase it as like Boeing gets much needed break by getting this massive contract. Ridiculous. It was also weird. They said that plane has been out for like 5 years. Like, yeah, we've been flying around testing it for like 5 years now.
Yeah, man. It's like we're just getting things on a delay or something.
Yeah, weird. I wonder if anybody's ever thought of that or said that before. Yeah, it reminds me on the Liberty Den last night, I was talking about that movie Stealth. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
Oh, it's basically about how the next generation of pilot fighters are here, and it's just an AI in an airplane, and then it gets struck by lightning and goes bad, and then they have to fight the jet. It's crazy.
That sounds like the horror movies that they used to play on like Saturday afternoon television in the 80s when I was growing up. I remember once watching when I was like 7 or 8 years old, a black and white movie about how some power lines had fallen to the ground during a rainstorm, and the electricity went through the ground and like fried all the earthworms, and they became killer earthworms.
What? Yeah, this is a little different than that, but
yeah,
I see what you're saying.
Kind of the same.
Thematic.
I mean, the AI, it just something happens and it turns against you.
Just like the ground worms.
Yeah.
Totally get it. Well, anyway, before we get to the meat of the show, let's get a quick word from our sponsors. How's that sound? We'll start it off with Field of Greens. Guys, Field of Greens is amazing. And right now we're in this era of making America healthy again. Field of Greens is one way you could do that. The Dems spent years forcing mandates and dictating how we manage our health. Now they're pushing back when we try to take control of it for ourselves. That's why we're reclaiming our own health with Field of Greens. We all know eating healthy is a key to staying healthy, but life gets busy and sticking to a perfect diet isn't always realistic. Field of Greens makes it easy. It's whole fruits and vegetables. That's it. And we could use a lot more of that in our diet. Just one drink and you've got your healthy head start on the day. My favorite is wild berry. I will repeat that till my dying breath. They're all great, but wild berry is delicious. I encourage you to get it. Go to fieldofgreens.com. Use promo code John, Jon. That's fieldofgreens.com, promo code John to get a 20% discount. Every fruit and vegetable in Field of Greens is doctor selected for specific health benefits. You won't regret it. That's all I got on that one. We'll get to our second sponsor and third sponsor a little later. So let's start it off with this one. If you guys remember last week on the show, we were talking about the AUTOPEN. We spent a good deal of time talking about the AUTOPEN. And there's been, I would say, an update on it. A couple updates even. We could even get into the Alien Enemy Act on this. But the big one was we were saying, you know, this is great. We can delegitimize Biden because of the AUTOPEN. But the real reason he's not legitimate is because he didn't win the election in 2020. And Trump agreed with us because he retruthed this post from Liz Harrington. Pull it up here. You can see down there at the bottom. I don't know if you can see the arrow, but it's pointing to the part I'm trying to show you guys here. Liz Harrington said we could just invalidate the pardons and everything else because Biden stole the election, or they stole the election. He was never elected president. Trump retruth. He basically retruthed us. So I'm taking credit for.
Yeah, I mean, we can take credit for it. We've been saying it the entire time. I'm glad that Liz Harrington's out there saying it. She's been all over the election fraud issue for the entire time as well. And yeah, at some point in the future, and this is why I was so hard about never calling Biden president and always analyzing everything with the understanding that he wasn't, because at some point in the future, like, people are going to look back and say, did anyone actually pay attention to what was happening? Or did just everyone was hoodwinked? No one knew what was going on. And the truth is, we weren't the only people who knew what was going on. And, you know, the audience, obviously, I'm putting us aside in only a media sense. There were very few people with public platforms who actually stuck to it. I think Steve Bannon is like the only prominent person who kept true about that for the 4 years.
Totally agree with you. And I'm curious to see where this goes, though, because as we've been saying, at some point we got to fix 2020, right? We got to rectify it. Yep. So I don't know. We keep seeing talk about it. Haven't seen much movement, but I just like when the stuff we talk about a week or 2 or 3 or however long later, almost in a sense gets confirmed or validated. But by stuff like this, I enjoy when that happens.
I feel like we've got a bunch of those coming in the past couple of months.
Yeah.
Just all these signals. And I feel like we're going to have some more big ones coming soon.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah, man. Sorry. We can tie this into the AUTOPEN stuff, into the Alien Enemy Act, because there was a little, I don't know if you call it a kerfuffle or what it is, maybe just a misunderstanding, but CNN came out with an article the other day, I think it was yesterday even.
Yeah.
And they were saying that Trump says he didn't sign proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act. I think listening to the context of the question and the answer, and then what the White House said today, he was probably talking about the original act signed in like 1790 something. But still, the way the media took it, and you could argue one way or the other. If he was talking about the actual invoking of it just recently to deport these terrorists, it makes it a lot more interesting, because you could tie it to the AUTOPEN thing. Is he trying to say, okay, well, I signed AUTOPEN. What are you guys going to do now? Is it legitimate? Is it not? Then what does that mean for Biden? Or did somebody actually go rogue? Like, what is going on here? Was it all a bluff just to get the rogue judge to jump out of his shoes? I don't know.
That would be funny. And for this, if it's that, just saying, if it's that, I don't know it's that, but if it's that, the gambit you would think would have to be over, like, whoever was deported, whatever implications this situation has, like, to the enemy, it would have to be really big for them to go hard on something like this and run themselves into that corner head first.
Yeah. I have a video from, this is Caitlin Collins today or yesterday. What's the date today? 22nd. So this is last night. I don't want to play the whole thing, but here they say the White House said tonight, President Trump was obviously referring to the original Alien Enemies Act that was signed back in 1798. The recent executive order was personally signed by President Trump invoking the Alien Enemies Act that designated Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization in order to apprehend and deport these heinous criminals. So maybe
issue of signature and issue of signature or no signature. If you look at the proclamation invoking this wartime power over the weekend, it's on the White House's website. It is listed as a presidential action, and it reads, by the President of the United States of America. But even further than that, when you look at the version that is filed in the National Register, it bears President Trump's recognizable signature right there at the bottom. Now, given all of this, at 8:46 p.m. tonight, just a few minutes before we came on air here, the White House put out this statement. I'm going to read it to you in full. says President Trump was obviously referring to the original Alien Enemies Act that was signed back in 1798. The recent executive order was personally signed by President Trump invoking the Alien Enemies Act that designated Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization in order to apprehend and deport these heinous criminals. So they say Trump was very obviously referring to the original Alien Enemies Act that was signed back in 1798, even though that is not what the reporter asked him. Just let's listen to what the president himself said one more time.
I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. Other people handled it. But Marco Rubio's done a great job, and he wanted him out, and we go along with that.
It's hilarious. I don't know what else to say even on it.
Yeah, it sounds like he's talking about the proclamation from last weekend.
For sure.
So who knows, man? Maybe there's statements coming out from the White House that Donald Trump hasn't approved. I don't know.
I think that's totally possible. I think that's something more people need to like wrap their head around, how the White House actually works, because so many things take place and it's like, well, Donald Trump definitely approved that thing and this little thing and this little thing and this little thing. My understanding of how he operates and how anybody is to operate, especially at that scale, is you delegate tasks to people and you trust that they're good people and they're going to do it in the way that you want things done. And so does that mean he had say over Pam Bondi rolling out the Epstein files that way? I don't think so. Is he, did he actually sign this thing, or he's like, hey, you have my approval, go do it? And Rubio did it. It's very possible things happen that he thinks are being done the way he wants, but they may not be. There's a little, you're the one who always says it. One more thing before I let you go. You're the one who always says it. It's Trump, and then his administration is completely separate.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how it was the first term too. There are other people in the administration, and we all want to believe that this can't be the same situation this year. He wouldn't put bad people around him again. And maybe there are no bad people that he's ever put around him, and it was all just kayfabe. I didn't know the whole story. Okay. Leaving that possibility aside, well, it's entirely possible that he's just still spotlighting people, trying to figure out exactly all the angles of attack that they have planned out for him. And then he's allowing them to run through these things. There's a lot of strange stuff happening, and we don't need to pretend that it's not strange. We need to attempt to recognize it and then understand it. And, I can't imagine a scenario where Donald Trump would be offended that we were critiquing these things and trying to get to the bottom of them, because it doesn't sound like he was talking about the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. He wouldn't need to respond, oh, I didn't sign that, somebody else handled that. Well, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that doesn't even make sense to me. So the idea that someone in the press office of the White House might have got that, and someone told an underling, figure out an excuse, tell the media to go F themselves or whatever, totally plausible. There's also articles all week long, and actually for the last few weeks, trying to kind of cleave Marco Rubio off from the administration. Problems with Elon Musk in the cabinet meeting, reported, never confirmed, probably not true. And then there was a big article also on CNN this week about how Steve Witkoff was essentially doing the job of Marco Rubio. Rubio got in there with a 99-0 vote. He's someone a lot of people perceive as pretty establishment. All of the reports, and again, it's fake news, but they say that he wants to be president and run for president in 2028, that these are like 2 years for him to burnish his reputation as the Secretary of State. So I don't know. There can be divides. There can be factions working in different directions.
For sure. Did you listen to any of the Tucker and Steve Witkoff interview?
I listened to about 45, 50 minutes of it.
Yeah, I didn't even get that far. But there's a part really early on. I actually want to play this clip, so I'm glad you mentioned Witkoff, where he talks about first, what I think is a devil proof is the Biden administration allowing them to come in early and start negotiating, which would clearly be a political win for Donald Trump if they could negotiate the peace deal before he's even inaugurated, which is what happened. But it doesn't make much sense for the Biden administration to allow that to take place. But here, let's take a listen to a little bit of this.
I just don't think, leaving aside like moral considerations, I don't think that's been very effective.
Well, here's an example. Gaza. And what the president set forth is what he wanted to do with Gaza. I came back from my first trip. This is before he was inaugurated, where we had permission from the Biden administration to collaborate with them.
Yes.
Like, how does that make any sense?
And then he talked about like Brett McGurk being a good guy, but that he's executing Trump's program, and there was no program from Biden for anyone to execute. So they were kind of screwed. It seems, we've talked for a long time about Donald Trump's potential influence on the things the fake and illegitimate Biden administration was doing. So
yeah,
that's how I do.
I have another clip to play, and it kind of talks about that and what I was saying earlier about Trump delegating and what Witkoff is doing and what allows him to do his job well. It can also be subverted by people if you're not trustworthy, right? But this is a pretty good insight into how the administration works.
He just didn't have a great boss giving him direction. So he couldn't really speak on behalf of Biden. I was able to speak on behalf of Trump because we talked about it. We had a great conversation about it. He said to me, "This is where I want to get to, Steve." And so when I went in there, I went in with the imprimatur of the president, and it became that's the difference maker.
But I mean, clearly, and no one doubts that you speak for the president, that you know what the president wants because you know the president. You actually talk to him. You're not some guy he just hired, and that makes a huge difference. But it also seems like you think through where whoever you're negotiating with is coming from. Like, what do they want?
Well, there's no doubt I'm always trying to put myself in the shoes of the other person, because a good deal has to work for everybody.
I could probably end it there, but yeah, I think it's just interesting. He actually sits down and talks with President Trump, and they go into a little more detail on that. And then he just goes and Trump lets him do his thing, and he only steps in and steers things from Truth Social when he needs to, really.
It's fascinating. It's a little bit it freaks me out, to be honest.
What does?
Just how strange some of these things are. It was totally I was totally like I had made peace with everything in the fake and illegitimate Biden administration being totally upside down and backwards. And when I see little things that are upside down and backwards in the last couple of months, I'm like, wait a second. Because you really have to go back and check your priors about a lot of this stuff. Like, hey, is there something that I missed? Is there something I'm missing? Something now that I'm not understanding?
Can you give an example?
The AUTOPEN, the thing we're talking about right now, like, it's like there's two Donald Trumps or two administrations or something. He either signed it or he didn't. And he certainly knows whether or not he signed it or he didn't. And he knows whether or not then that the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act would have been something that he did or not. And for me, I've thought about these things in this way for a really long time, that there is a script that we are kind of aware of, the 2030 agenda, the World Economic Forum, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, all that kind of stuff. We know the regime has an agenda. You could read COVID-19, The Great Reset, and understand they have a certain way that they know the media thing is going to play out. And there are probably a bunch of factions with their actions all scripted. And you got to assume that there is controlled opposition for every central narrative. There is a central counter narrative as well. And that counter narrative would have been prepared to exist in a world minus Trump. And now Trump's in that world. And the way I watch it is I still see that central counter narrative playing underneath like the main thing. Trump is the main thing. And then that central counter narrative is still playing, like all the things that would have happened under President Ron DeSantis or President Nikki Haley or President JD Vance or whoever. Those things are all still happening.
Okay. I want to bring this into like the context of the Rich Higgins memo. Okay. Because we've talked about this a lot. and I'm totally just thinking this through right now, so it might sound utterly retarded, but I'm gonna try. So in Rich Higgin's memo, he talks about the battle space that Trump has to operate within, and it's given to him by the media, right? And this was under his first term. He was under a 24/7 pervasive all-out attack from the mainstream media. And it wasn't just them. It was social media, it was big tech, it was Hollywood, it was everything. It's pretty much everything you can think of was against Trump. And ironically, that's the reason I think it makes logical sense that the Q operation was started to bypass the media, get people thinking on their own, get them activated, all those things. But okay, so that's the battle space. If this counter op that you're talking about, this counter narrative, is that the battle space that Trump is now being presented? And do you think at any point we're going to get to completely take over and dictate the battle space ourselves, or Trump? You know what I mean? Or are we still operating within somebody else's battle space? Does that make sense?
Well, I think that yes, it does make total sense. I think that if Trump was out of the picture, we would still have the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Maha thing combining with a DeSantis or a Vance or whoever. Okay. The country was being led from the kind of center left narrative as the central narrative to now this center right narrative as the central narrative. And then Trump and MAGA are either kind of hanging on to that thing and going along for the ride until we surpass. And that's the whole kind of the drafting thing that I talk about.
Yeah.
Or it's the other way around and they're trying to hang on to him as tight as possible. But I still think that there are like significant enemies out there and that we should be cautious that they may well be very close in those circles and in circles outside of, you know, the ones we see covered by the news. I don't know that Fox News's coverage of the last 4 years would have been any different if Trump had been out of the picture, except of course, you know, then they have to cover Trump, but they probably would have made immigration the most important issue in the country at some point in the spring of 2024, when they were trying to pass Mike Johnson's package with the bipartisan immigration legislation, you know, unipartisan, and it never got through because Trump thwarted it. But they had kind of ignored the immigration thing, at least on the Trump terms. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, MAGA was right about immigration the entire time. And now we're still going. And there were all these big headline grabbing ops. Now we have all the Tren de Aragua stuff, having never heard of that cartel before a couple of years ago. You can go on their Wikipedia like we did last week. I mean, they've clearly been started in the last few years from what we can tell. And maybe somebody will tell me that the gang has its roots in another gang or something. And I get it. That's possible. But yeah, I mean, I can see those stories just playing out right now, not requiring Trump and them still being played out with the same TV characters that are clearly capturing everybody's attention. And we're like, well, you know, it's a psyop to unwind a psyop. And I get it. Maybe that's what's happening, or maybe that's part of what's happening. And then there's something else happening as well. But whenever everybody is like glued to the television, which is what MAGA is essentially now, repeating the things that the television says constantly, well, that's just a media manipulation, the same as it was on the left, the same as it was 10 years ago. It's big media coming to us from different screens, from the influencers. I know we're going to talk about some of the influencers and that kind of stuff. But like, this is coordinated messaging for a reason, and it's coming from a very high level. And I don't think that we should just satisfy ourselves assuming that it's all being coordinated by Donald Trump.
Okay, so what do you think the end game is then to get us out of that?
To get us out of it?
Yeah, to get out of this loop where it's you know, we have these constant influencers and constant messaging and the counter narratives running and all these things. Yeah. What's the end goal with that?
Well, I mean, as far as the other side is concerned, and I know that's not your question, but as far as the other side is concerned, the end goal is to put the people back to sleep, be our allies for 4 years, saying, hey guys, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You guys did your work. You got Trump elected in that fake election. We'll take it from here. And then in 2028, they're going to put somebody up and tell us that's our new hero.
They're already doing that with J.D. Vance.
Yeah, exactly. And so we'll grovel and vote hard, and that'll be that. If Trump is a catalyst for the awakening, and he's awakening and everybody's waking up, which, may be true, may not be true, we have to eventually start thinking for ourselves and acting for ourselves and stop giving in to the thing that says, no, you believe this, you believe this, you believe this. No, you have to say good things about this person and this person and this person and this person. It's the same media operation. It's just now catered to us.
That's a great point, and that is a good segue actually into this whole SNAP debacle that's been going on, the food stamp stuff. So Nick Sorter, I think, is the one who kind of broke this story. Let me see if I can find. Okay, here we go. So a lot of big accounts took a lot of money to post stuff on social media. Okay. Over the past 48 hours, several large, supposedly mega aligned influencers posted almost identical talking points fed to them, convincing you that Make America Healthy Again was out of line for not wanting soda purchases with food stamps. Some even slimely invoked President Trump as an emotional manipulation tactic, referring to his Diet Coke button. Not a single one of them disclosed they were paid for these posts, which led readers to believe a general soda ban was in the works. And you can see a couple of me listed here: Clown World, Eric Daughtry, Ian Miles Chung, not Jerome Powell. And this is just a few. But it goes into showing that they were paid $1,000 for each post by this influenceable app or whatever agency. It's insane. So these people definitely not thinking for themselves, taking money to put out messaging to help big, like big Coke, big whatever, big soda companies. That's not cool. I mean, not disclosing that's fabricated messaging, and who knows what else they're doing this with too. By the way, it could just be random talking points. It could be stuff on elections. It could be anything, and we have no idea. These people got caught with this one, but how many people aren't getting caught?
I mean, when I look at X, formerly Twitter, and I see coordinated messaging like we witnessed with the Ron DeSantis op, that's not people on there just expressing their honest opinions about what they've figured out about the world, what they think, what they feel, what they're seeing and noticing. That's not what that is. And people have to eventually come to terms with the fact that our mainstream media has been shifted from cable television to X, formerly Twitter. And these big influencers who are always talking about the same things and always making the same points and always interacting with each other and never their followers are working for money to influence people and create an illusion of consensus so that every casual observer of politics online thinks, oh, this must be the right thing because all of these people are saying it. And the idea that only the Rachel Maddows and Anderson Coopers of the world, the CNNs, the New York Times, Washington Post, get the 4 a.m. talking points is crazy. It's not some kind of mistake that all of the mainstream, quote unquote, conservative podcasts talk about the same damn things every day. Yeah. It's coordinated messaging. I mean, I used to work in social media in Hollywood. My company represented like celebrities and brands and actually ran their social media accounts. Some of these people aren't even people, you know, and listen, I'm painting with a broad brush. I understand that. Not all of them. Okay. And I can't pick out every single time which one's part of a coordinated messaging campaign, but it happens way more than people would imagine. And these people that are being defended online, you know, eventually everybody's just, like I said, going to have to think for themselves. Think about what this program is, right? They're defending that welfare money, essentially food stamp money, can be used for junk food. Okay. That is totally unprincipled. It's not conservative. And it's a defense of the idea that this money should be spent in the first place. Like none of those things are MAGA oriented. And these people, like they align with us sometimes, but then it's just the rest of it's just this stuff. And we're like, oh yeah, they're on our side. No, they're not. Like, look at it. No, they're not.
They align with us to make us think we're on each other's side. And then every opportunity they get, they take the money. and put out whatever messaging is required of them. And this kind of actually leads me to another one of your posts I wanted to read, because I thought this was good too. And this isn't the same exact thing, but it's a similar social media behavior that people get stuck in. And I think it's good to discuss. Does anyone ever notice how so many influencers spend all their time going on one another's shows and repeating and reposting the same emotionally reactive hot takes to whatever's on TV for 5 years in a row now? There are never any new ideas, never any insight, just catchy, provocative reactions to the mainstream media. Why are they doing that? Oh yeah, they're farming attention, which, by the way, your new meme is amazing. I don't know if you want to get that up.
Oh yeah.
They're farming attention, hoping to gain followers and impress bigger accounts. I wonder if behind the scenes they've all agreed on that as a growth strategy. No, I can actually get that meme pulled up if you want to comment on that, because here's your original post. There you go.
Just a humble attention farmer.
Zoom in a little bit.
Farming for likes.
Oh, it's so good. Which AI did you use to?
ChatGPT gave me this with like one command. I was so impressed.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, do you want to comment on that too, and then I can spin off of that too?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can see that what they're doing is trying to win a competition in the online party of false decorum. They are vying for reputation points. They are operating within a social credit system where the way to become successful is to impress the people bigger than you. They are not maximizing for honesty. They're not maximizing for insight or truth-telling or understanding or any of it. They are maximizing for virality and the ability to kiss enough ass and grovel hard enough that bigger accounts will repost them.
And their audience. Yeah.
Pathetic. Their goal is to get more followers so that they can get paid to make posts like that lie to people. It's nuts.
It is nuts. And we see it a lot. We come in contact with this a lot, you know, like people we engage with, people we think are legit. And then you see the kiss assing, and it's like, okay, what's your goal here, bro? And then eventually you kind of cut off contact, and they expose themselves completely as like, you know, we're being opt constantly because we won't let people in the Badlands. It's insane. But we have a strict like ethos here, I want to say,
yeah,
where we refuse to do any of that. We refuse to participate. We don't, you know, we'll call out the ops when we clearly see them and whatnot, but we're trying to forge that new path forward. And there's not enough people trying to do that. It's let's post as much sirens as we can in a breaking news post. Holy crap. And then see how many likes and shares we can get with that.
And the weirdest thing is, well, first of all, they're consistently days, weeks, months, or years behind virtually everything they're saying. And they never, ever, ever will ever repost original content from accounts that are ahead of them and can make them look bad by disagreeing with their trite mainstream nonsense. I mean, we saw it on display with the Epstein files thing a few weeks ago. Do those guys ever repost? I mean, Brano was out there stealing your memes like 3 days later. People are like, well, memes are meant to be stolen. Yeah, I get it. That's not the point. The point is he's intentionally there are people that are actually barred from these conversations while others are amplified. And when the people who are amplified are stealing content from the people who are barred, you should understand what that means.
It's insane. You're absolutely right. And the memes I don't care about as much. It's more like proof that they do it. It's the information stuff. They'll take the good information, but keep the rest of it because they don't want people to come to our accounts. And this isn't just big accounts too. It's there's sex in the community like not that kind of sex, the other sex in the community that will, you know, it's all about unity. It's all about all these things. It's all love and everything. But then they don't ever touch any of our stuff if we don't put them on Badlands. You know what I mean? If we're the ugly stepchild to all sides of the info war. It's crazy, but I don't know, whatever.
And the weirdest thing is like, it's not like we have interview shows. We have shows with each other that are set up, and it's the same every week. Like,
I guess I do interviews now and then.
Yeah. I guess you started having people on Daily Herald, but
yeah, but those aren't. I wouldn't even call those interviews. It's like segments, and I try to keep them topical. Where If something's happening, like the measles outbreak, you have Dr. Stella Manuel on to talk about what the hell they're trying to do with that. It's topical, it's relevant, whatever. But yeah, we can probably move off this subject. Everybody gets so pissy about it in the chat.
I mean, yeah, it's like, is it an information war? Should we talk about the way people are waging information war, or should we just leave that alone because it's threatening unity? Like we're a bunch of little communists doing a struggle session.
Right. Ash said monetizing theft as well. Get a lot of that in the movement. But part of that too, I wonder, you know, we keep pushing for, so I guess we're not moving off this topic. We keep pushing for equal footing with the big players, right? Like that's not just exposure and being able to stream to YouTube without censorship and all this stuff, but it's also a monetization aspect because the ad game on YouTube is far superior, unfortunately, and only for now, hopefully temporarily, but it's better than Rumble's. Like Rumble is making progress always. They're doing great, and we're extremely thankful for them. But the way things have been set up from the beginning is Rumble was blackballed by the ads, and they just don't have the monetization as YouTube does. And so if we ever get to a point, which by the way, ever since Trump's executive order on free speech, we haven't seen a movement. We haven't seen a finger lifted on getting us to actual free speech. We just have the order right now. We haven't seen any progress in any front. YouTube hasn't changed anything. None of these places have changed. All we have is the executive order. Not saying it's not coming, but being realistic, that's where we're at right now. If we ever get to that even footing, does that make things better for stuff like this, or does it make it worse? Because I don't see how it makes it better.
What do you mean? Like, will the behavior stop?
The behavior will get worse, I think, because people will see money and they'll, you know, everything's about money for a lot of these people, and they'll just go even worse into it.
If the incentives changed, if financial incentives made them start telling more truth, that would be good. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily, but maybe it would.
I don't know. Skeptical. But anyway, okay, now we can move on. What should we do next? You know what, why don't I do our next sponsor quick, and then we can do, I don't know, maybe I do want to play the video of Trump walking into the Wells Fargo Center tonight, because that was pretty amazing. The standing ovation he got. Okay, we got Rattlesnake Meats Up. You guys got to stop funding the cartel. Not talking about the cartels at the southern border. I'm talking about the 4 globalist multinational meat packers that control 85% of America's beef supply. Their beef, who knows where it's really raised. There's a better way. You can buy directly from an American rancher. At Rattlesnake Meat Company, they deliver premium 21-day aged American beef straight from the ranch to your door. No mRNA, no added hormones, no pink slime, no meat glue, just real beef, born, raised, and processed in Kansas. Every dollar you spend is a vote. Vote for the American rancher. Vote against the globalist agenda. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/meat and use promo code Badlands20 for $20 off to take back control of your beef. That's badlandsmedia.tv/meat, promo code Badlands20. All right, I'm going to play this video real quick. So both Elon and Trump went to the wrestling. Is that Wyckoff? There at the end? Is that Wyckoff?
That guy right there that he's shaking hands with right now?
No, that's not Wyckoff. Yeah, that guy right next to him to the right.
Yeah, I don't think so. He looks a little young to be Wyckoff, but
yeah. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna play the whole thing, just 20 seconds here. I love seeing videos like this because the mainstream media would have you believing that this is a 50-50 country.
Yep.
And I got to imagine that some liberals somewhere probably wrestle, or just none anywhere. Like he gets a reception like that at a wrestling tournament. Are there no liberal wrestlers? Because something like this theoretically, you should have heard some boos too, right? If it's a 50-50 country.
Yeah. Not this raucous greeting. And I love stuff like that because it has the optics attached to it. And it shows like these are just normal people there to watch college wrestling, and they love Donald Trump. And I mean, of course, that's why he does it. there are other indirect ways too. And I was thinking about, we don't have to linger on it, but the Snow White opening, I haven't paid attention to much of the talk about its wokeness and how annoying this little actress is or whatever. And I mean, I guess we have people of color playing Snow White now or something. It made $16 million on Friday on its opening night. That is, yeah. I mean, maybe today it'll do 20 and then Sunday it'll do 10. Is it going to crack 50 for the weekend? A big Disney movie with all the marketing and all the money and all that. The country is rejecting all of this stuff right now.
That's incredible. You kind of saw that one coming. I mean, I feel like we've been talking about that movie for 6 months. Not we personally, but as a as a country that's been in the news for like 6 months. And so I thought it had already come out, if I'm being totally honest. I can't believe they only made 15 on opening night. Do you know how much they spent on it total?
I don't. I have not really looked into this at all, but I can ask the machine.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, I certainly ain't going to go see it, but I've seen a lot of memes about it on social media. So I'm happy about the failure of the woke left. I saw a podcast today too. I don't even remember who was on it, but they were talking about the LA and California basically killing Hollywood because of the cost, like the taxes and everything. They killed Hollywood. The left killed Hollywood. And these were two, like, I would have thought they were lefties or liberals. And they were talking about it on the podcast, like the movie industry blows now. You can't even film stuff here. They go across the country to film elsewhere because it's impossible to do in LA nowadays.
Well, yeah, there are tax breaks in all sorts of other states. Gas in LA. I was talking to a friend of mine today. Gas in LA is $5 a gallon. Yeah, it's crazy. I talked to one of my old business partners. He's been in Los Angeles for his entire life. He's like 10 years older than me. And he said to me that the town has changed. He's like, I don't know if you'd like it anymore. I mean, obviously, whatever. But he was talking about like the good things about it. Like we used to go to Dodgers games and stuff. You know, he's like, it's just not the same place anymore. And that guy is one of the most diehard LA guys I've ever met. Like something is very, very off there.
Well, what is he saying changed?
We didn't get into it, but I have talked to, I keep in touch with a handful of people from there still. And, nightlife, my old industry has totally changed. Like now, like it used to be people going out and having drinks and trying to network and hang out and enjoy themselves and celebrate if, your friend just got a roll on something or whatever it was. Now it's all influencers going into bars and restaurants and nightclubs, filming themselves for a couple of minutes to show everybody that they were there and then leaving to go to a different place to do the same thing. It's just people going out and filming themselves all the time for content online. And that's like the entire social life there now.
That's insane. But back, I don't know if they still call it this, but we used to call that Facebook perfect life. Like everything on Facebook is like how you're doing all these amazing things and everything about your Facebook life is perfect, but you really aren't any of those things that you show yourself to be on Facebook.
The really crazy part of it is that they actually choose what to do in their real life based on how they will be able to display it online to impress strangers, hoping to impress the right strangers who make them big enough to make money doing that.
It's crazy, man. And that at some point has got to change too. But that's like a more, I don't know, that's a cultural phenomenon. Like we need to fix our values as a country.
That's what it
so
is.
That social media clout is not what people value anymore. And I don't know how you fix that because I feel like that's been growing and ingrained in our youth for years, decades. I think
it's just another element of the matrix, and it tricks us because it makes like it's so visual and we have a connection to the character over time. It makes us feel like there's a real connection there when there isn't. And like once that illusion kind of drops away, like so many illusions have over the last few years, you just immediately tune out. I mean, I've been off Instagram for 4.5 years and I don't think about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I miss being able to see what everybody was pretending to do.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't you though, man. I mean, you're different, but in a good way. And I have a hard time believing, especially some of these people who they live their lives on Instagram, how they're going to break away from that. Like that, we need 10 years of darkness to get those people to not live that life anymore. You know,
I bet it would crack in 2 weeks, to be honest.
You think so?
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a dopamine addiction. It's so weirdly chemical driven. Yeah, I think so.
So maybe we'll need 10 days of darkness. I'm down for that.
Maybe.
All right. Okay, let's talk about, should we do the Elon one? I don't have a story put up for the Elon one, so I'll do that. But maybe in the meantime, kind of in line with that is the NATO situation. And I find this story to be fascinating as well. This kind of can go hand in hand with the Commonwealth stories as well. Trump admin considers giving up NATO command that has been exclusively American since Eisenhower. The move is being discussed as part of a possible restructuring of combatant commands that would help the Defense Department cut costs. And the back and forth with this has been interesting because Congress and the Senate, they've been like, you can't do this. You can't do this without our approval. And I think it's just another one of those showdowns that's going to end up delineating the roles of Congress and the president and military and everything. But anyway, for nearly 75 years, it has been a distinctly American responsibility to have a 4-star U.S. general oversee all NATO military operations in Europe, a command that began with then World War II hero and future President Dwight D. Eisenhower. But the Trump administration, according to 2 defense officials familiar with the planning, so this could totally be bullshit, by the way. But there's a lot of people reporting on this, so who knows? Anyway, 2 defense officials say that they're considering changing it. The Pentagon is undertaking a significant restructuring of the U.S. military's combatant commands and headquarters, and one of the plans under consideration, the 2 defense officials said, would involve the U.S. giving up the role of NATO's Supreme Allied Commander Europe. The general now in this role, who also serves as the head of European Command, has been the primary commander overseeing support to Ukraine in its war against Russia. And I'll be honest, I didn't know, I just never dug deep enough, or maybe I've read it before, but I didn't think that the person in charge of the response that in Ukraine from NATO is the United States, because it's this commander. And looking him up, he was replaced by Biden in 2022, and maybe I'll do that now. Show you guys. But let me finish this paragraph, then you can comment while I look that up. It is not clear how long such a reorganization could take, and it could be modified by the time it is complete. I think that should be B, not by. Congress could also weigh in using the power of the purse should members oppose any aspect of the initiative. This is the part I don't think that's accurate, but you have any comment while I look this up?
Well, I just, maybe I should pull up that clip that I sent you earlier today from Trump's meeting with Mark Rutte.
Oh yeah, do that.
Because that is very interesting. This is like, is NATO going to stick around in the first place?
Your commitment to NATO, will anything change? Your commitment to NATO, will anything change? Same amount of money?
Well, I think they made a great step by putting Mark in charge. I think to me that's a great step because he and I have seen eye to eye on everything for a long time. We've been doing this a long time now.
9 years now.
And so that's a great step. You have to keep NATO strong. You have to keep it relevant. But the biggest thing we have to worry about right now is what's going on right now. I think the rest is going to take care of itself. I don't see this happening. This was a fluke. This was something that if we had a competent president, it would not have happened. The man was grossly incompetent. All you have to do is take a look at he signs by AUTOPEN. Who was signing all this stuff by AUTOPEN? Who would think you signed important documents by AUTOPEN? These are major documents you're signing. You're proud to sign them. You have your signature on something. In 300 years, they say, oh, look, can you imagine? Everything was signed by AUTOPEN, almost everything. Nobody's ever heard of such a thing. So should have never happened.
The interesting part you're pointing out there is at the beginning with we've been working on this for a long time now.
Yeah. And he also made the points in that press conference. Yeah, he said 9 years now, Mark Rutte did in the background. And Trump said earlier in that press conference that Rutte is in that position because Trump put him there. And so that is, I think, very interesting. And they do seem to be very much in line, Rutte was like, please clip that. I need to bring this home for my family or something. Like, was so honored that Trump said that about him.
That's funny. So this guy, he is the Secretary General in NATO. And he was previously the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I mean Zelensky.
Gosh, man. That's a major height difference there.
Yeah.
Oh, the masks.
I don't know much about this guy. Ooh, chips. They're in part of a chips agreement with the US?
I didn't see this.
US, Japan, and the Netherlands reached an agreement to limit certain advanced chip exports to China. Okay. And that's interesting with NVIDIA coming to the United States.
Before we get to that, though, let's go. We should go back and listen to the read the quotes there from General Stavridis, who I believe is one of the TV generals that Trump talks about. I know Bannon makes fun of him all the time.
Okay, well, yeah. So giving up saucer would, if nothing else, be a major symbolic shift in the balance of power in NATO, which that's what Trump has been saying he wants. Like the peace deal in Ukraine and Russia. We're not going to have our troops there. So why would we be in charge of the NATO troops there if none of them are going to be ours, if Trump falls through on that? For the United States to give up the role of supreme allied commander of NATO would be seen in Europe as a significant signal of walking away from the alliance. Heck yeah. Retired Admiral James Stavridis, who served as saucer in the head of European Command from 2009 to 2013, said in an email, "It would be a political mistake of epic proportion, and once we give it up, they are not going to give it back," he wrote. "We would lose an enormous amount of influence within NATO, and this would be seen correctly as probably the first step toward leaving the alliance." Please, I hope they do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it has to be part of Donald Trump's foreign policy.
Oh, yeah.
America first implies that other countries can put themselves first and be responsible for their own business, their own alliances, their own militaries. It has to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is where Trump is going. I wouldn't be surprised if, and we've said this before, I wouldn't be surprised, and it probably makes more sense for us to join BRICS. Like, get rid of NATO, get out of the UN, all those things. Let's go to BRICS. They're the happening organization right now.
Or will BRICS just join us? And then we'll find out, oh, BRICS was just a thing that was going away from the global regime fiat dollar and is going to switch to this new system.
Whatever that new system is. Also with this these rumors, there's talks of combining the commands in Europe and Africa and a couple others in an attempt to save money. They say that it could save upwards of $470 million over the next 5 years. U.S. Space Command could see its Missile Defense Component Command eliminated in the restructuring. I found that one interesting. With all the space talk lately and the Golden Dome that we're going to get. Yeah, so this is interesting. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you can finish your point.
I was just going to talk about Congress, because in some of the other articles I read, the head of the Armed Services Committee in the Senate and Congress or whatever, they're talking about, well, you can't do this. Like, we need to be involved in these discussions with what you're going to do with the military. And where I do see them having a role in, they decide, they control the purse strings. If we're going to build a new agency or whatever in the military, new group, combatant command, we would need funding for that, allegedly, and they would have a role in that. But if we're reorganizing and consolidating, that's actually saving money. And I don't know what business that is of Congress if we're saving money. So I don't know. But you can go ahead and make your point you were going to say.
Oh, I was just going to say CNN actually had an article this morning right on the front page about Trump's Golden Dome. And the funny thing about the article was the entire thing was just set up to, here, let's skip to this one first. The entire thing was set up to suggest that there's no way this could ever happen. Certainly not in the right amount of time. Just some really, let me see if I can find the quotes that really cracked me up today. So this is from later on in the article. I wish I could find where it is. Here we are. U.S. military officials are now also assessing how Golden Dome could disrupt the current stability provided by nuclear deterrence, according to the source familiar with internal planning discussions related to the project. So somehow being able to deter better is going to like ruin the balance and put us in more danger is the argument being made.
They're saying so having nukes and the threat of destroying other countries if they mess with us is somehow better than just shooting missiles down, like being able to shoot missiles down that are coming towards us.
Yep. Yeah, because we're going to upset their narrative balance.
Gotcha.
So today, the main U.S. deterrent against another country launching a preemptive nuclear attack is its survivable second strike or ability to retaliate even after enduring an initial nuclear attack, the source said. If you implement something that your nuclear-armed adversaries believe is a reliable countermeasure that just nullifies their nuclear arsenal, now you've done away with deterrent stability because you've improved the ease of the United States sending a nuclear attack to them with impunity. And then you have to ask yourself, well, how much do we trust the U.S. not to do that? So
that's insane.
It's insane. And so, you know, I am not a nuke believer, like nuclear weapons. I understand nuclear energy, whatever. I don't think that nuclear weapons can be dropped and kill us all at once. I don't think that it's a man-made existential threat to humanity. And I'm not denying. Yeah, that's part of what helped me stop believing in it. And so if you have this existential threat narrative, and we have climate change, we have pandemics, we have the future of AI, all these massive existential threat narratives that are meant to scare the shit out of us. What did you say?
So war on terror, pandemics, you might have said that
totally.
already.
And so in order to handle those things, war on terror is a great example that I had not thought of. Those things, the only way to handle them is to give all your power, all your status, all your wealth, all your control over to the state, because they're the only ones who can defend you from this problem. And so we have this narrative existential threat. Well, how do you solve a narrative existential threat? You provide a narrative defense. And so the Golden Dome is a narrative defense to narrative weapons. And the same thing is true of the Iron Dome in Israel, because it says to the world, oh, hey, you actually can't just attack this country. Like, so it takes away the warmongering opportunity from the regime. And that is how they get so much done in their foreign policy, just creating that nuclear threat constantly. And that's just another narrative that Donald Trump has to play into all the time, because that's the battle space.
Yep. That's a great point. It's so they admit to it in that article. It's like, if we have the ability to shoot down nukes, then we're the only ones that can actually like scare people into doing things. And so what are we going to do? Like, that's not fair. We all need to be afraid of mutually assured destruction. That's the most insane thing I think I've ever read.
And they're saying Trump's messing up NATO, which puts us at risk.
So stupid, man.
And you know, the other thing about the nukes, because I know that probably upsets too many people. Trump has talked about denuclearizing along with Russia and China
since the 80s.
But especially in his first term, like he said, we were ready to do it, right? We have that interview. I think it was the Andrew Schultz interview.
Yeah.
You can just transcript and denuclearize. Those are the strongest countries in the world, right? And supposedly our peer adversaries. We're going to denuclearize with them, but then still like Pakistan and India and North Korea and the UK, all these countries have nukes, and we're going to denuclearize. The three most powerful countries are going to denuclearize, and then the other countries still have nukes. Well, then they could just be like, hey, we're going to nuke you. Give us everything. And we'd be like, yes, sir. It's ridiculous.
It's absurd.
And the ridiculousness of it should say to everyone, hey, the thing that we've been told about this cannot possibly be true.
I mean, isn't that exactly what happened with Afghanistan or wherever, Iraq? Like, they were like, they have nukes, we have to go get them. But then there were no nukes.
Yellow cake uranium.
Yeah, but then they never actually existed. Like, isn't that a big thing? Okay, but here's that video you're talking about.
We were close to a deal for getting rid of nuclear weapons. It would be so good.
For all countries or just Russia?
We were talking about Russia, ourselves, and China.
Oh, wow.
And we would then bring everyone else into it. And
so you all
strongly,
you all would get rid of your nuclear capabilities.
Denuclearize, yes. We were going to get rid
Totally
of
denuclearized.
nuclear because it's too powerful.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
You know, we were
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I'm trying to find that article from back in the 80s. I posted about that.
The Star Wars thing. And, you know, they had the regime leftists mock and protest the Reagan missile defense system into non-existence. And that's what they're trying to do here as well.
Yeah, this is that article from the 80s where he says that his ultimate plan would be a deal with the Soviets to halt nuclear weapons proliferation and essentially save the world. And he's coming back full circle. So even back then, they were fake.
And to think about, and so then let's take it one step further on these existential threats, right? So we have climate change. Does anybody believe climate change is an existential threat anymore? I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find 20% of the country at this point that probably thinks that's an existential threat. I bet that's a 50% issue in the Democrat Party if you like had them alone in a room and you were like, come on. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't do polls, but like take your typical Democrat and be like, you don't really believe that, do you? And they'd be like, no, I mean,
just don't tell my friends.
I still like want clean water. Yeah, Trump wants clean water too. Okay. So that one's off the list. Pandemics. Does anybody still fear pandemics? Seeing what happened in 2020? I fear pandemic narratives to the extent that people might believe in them, but there's no way in hell the TV is going to tell me that there's like some super virus floating around that's going to go in my nose in case my mask doesn't catch a stray droplet.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. It's the fear pandemic. That's all that was. They had death counters on all the mainstream media news outlets until the day Joe Biden got in office. And that's like, okay, we don't care about the death counters anymore. We're going to get rid of that.
So the narrative defense is taking away the narrative existential threat. And so you don't actually need to build a golden dome. You just need to convince everyone the golden dome is on the way. And we are working on denuclearizing these adversaries that we're told are the greatest threats in the world. Turns out they're not that big a threat. Little Rocket Man is, I mean, he's pretty cool, to be honest. He's like hanging around with his hot tub monkeys. That's awesome.
Yeah, that dictator video might have to become our new like established outro. Is there anything else on that you wanted to show? Was that the article about the Pentagon and Elon Musk? Because that was an interesting one too.
Yes, this is very interesting. And I think it's particularly interesting because this came on the heels of the announcement from NVIDIA that they were going to be spending hundreds of billions of dollars.
200 billion, I think. Yeah.
High-tech manufacturing, bringing it back to the United States. And we were told that the justification for going to war with China over Taiwan would be that Taiwan is where all the semiconductors are manufactured. And without their manufacturing capabilities and our access to the semiconductors they make, our society was going to like collapse or something. And so right as that's happening, the New York Times writes an article about leaks from unnamed U.S. officials on how Elon Musk is going to attend a meeting at the Pentagon where they are going to share battle plans for how we might need to go after China. And they tried to make Elon Musk a threat to national security by saying that he's partners with all these Chinese firms and he's going to like take the information from that meeting and then give it to China. And so the thing that like blew me away, because this seems like obvious warmongering, it would be one of those briefings where they would say the Trump administration was briefed on potential war plans for China and like try to drum stuff up from the fact that a briefing was held. And so now Elon's in there and he's probably like doing his hand thing and saying, okay, tell me your plans.
It's so funny. Do you remember the video? It was back in anytime I think of Taiwan and semiconductors, I think of, it was Robert O'Brien. I think he was on Fox News or Newsmax. He was doing an interview and he was like, if China invades Taiwan, we are going to have to destroy Taiwan because we cannot let them have these semiconductors. And I need to find that interview because it's,
oh, wow.
And I'm paraphrasing a little bit. I don't think he may have said destroy the factories, not Taiwan, but I want to find that because
I've said,
go ahead.
and it's, I mean, I think a lot of us have, I'm just referring to myself because I've been saying it. Taiwan is China's Ukraine, and Guyana, we will eventually see, is Venezuela's Ukraine. The parts of these powerful countries, these resource-rich countries, or, you know, large population countries, the parts of those territories that have been carved off into regime proxy states over the last 100 years are clearly going to be returned to those countries. Like, that's the macro pattern that we are seeing. And I don't know how many parts Ukraine is going to be carved up into, but it's like a third of it's already Russia. And I maybe we talked about this last week, but it seems like they're going to try to say that Donald Trump like ceded Crimea to Russia. Crimea has been Russia for 11 years.
Yeah, probably longer. No, I agree with you. We don't know how this can play out, but I did find that clip.
90% of our the small 5 nanometer and less silicon chips are made by TSMC in Taiwan. And if China has not been able to replicate that industry, unlike many other industries that they've been able to replicate in their own country, they got control of those TSMC factories and research facilities. They'd be the new OPEC of silicon chips and control the world economy. Now, let's face it, that's never going to happen. I mean, the United States and its allies are never going to let those factories fall into Chinese hands, even if there was a successful invasion of Taiwan. I mean, you're looking at something similar to what happened with the French fleet when Vichy France surrendered to Germany. The Brits didn't allow the French fleet to remain intact so that it could have potentially gone to the Germans and changed the balance of power in the battle for the Atlantic. So
they bombed that fleet.
That fleet was destroyed, and it was look. Churchill walked into the House of Commons. He was a Francophile, with tears streaming down his face because it was the hardest decision he made in the war. And again, I think you'd have a very similar situation here.
They would be gone, is what you're saying. The Chinese successfully took Taiwan. Those facilities and production capacity would be gone. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I can't imagine they'd be intact.
Anytime I think of the Chinese invasion, that clip just plays in my head. Like, we're really going to destroy the Taiwan's entire economy just so China can't take it. Of course we are.
And TSMC is onshoring U.S. manufacturing as well.
Yep. I think I have that
It's
article.
like Trump set all this stuff up 5 years ago or something.
It's pretty interesting. This is the TSMC is investing $100 billion in the Arizona-based chips manufacturing operation. I'm pretty sure that went into operation like 3 years ago. I remember talking about that with Burning Bread on a Power Hour very early on, like one of the first episodes he was on with. So yeah, it's interesting that they're doing that for sure. Did you see? Were you on yesterday when we talked about the revocation of these security clearances?
No, I think you just got into those as I was taking off.
Yeah, I want to talk about this at some point. We don't have to do it now. If there's anything else you want to touch on, we could talk about the UK Commonwealth thing first, because that's more in the foreign policy. So that story's so weird to me. Apparently, you know, Starmer was at the White House the day before Zelensky came, and they were all clearly trying to pitch Trump for help and, you know, help with Ukraine. Trump didn't bite Zelensky. We had this meltdown, but he gave Trump this letter from King Charles. And allegedly, King Charles is going to invite him into this Commonwealth. And the Commonwealth, which I didn't even know was a thing, if I'm being totally honest, is apparently this non-binding like alliance of countries that all used to be part of Britain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 56 sovereign. Yeah, here. The UK Commonwealth is... The United Kingdom is a key member of the Commonwealth of Nations, an international association of 56 sovereign states. The UK plays a central role in the organization. I guess I don't know why I should just put Commonwealth, but King Charles is the head of this, and I don't see the benefit of us joining the Commonwealth, even if we're invited.
There certainly would not be any benefit. And, they try to say that it's meaningless the same way they say that King Charles is like the British monarchy is just ceremonial figureheads and that the parliament actually runs things. No, they don't. Like if the monarch can approve of the prime minister after the country votes for that person and can also say no, then that's not the case. I mean, they basically just rebranded the British Empire and they said, well, these aren't colonies anymore. Now they're independent republics that we still totally control. And it's a little bit unsettling to think about the British-American relationship, seeing how the relationship is with the rest of the Commonwealth countries. And then this being offered in to the Commonwealth seems ridiculous. Canada is part of that Commonwealth. And so there was this article. Let me see if I can pull this up. I did this on my show yesterday.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to read this one paragraph because they even admit here in The Independent that this is like a step backwards for us. Nearly 250 years after America declared independence from Great Britain, President Donald Trump suggested he was open to taking a small step back towards the warm embrace of the British monarchy after a media outlet reported that King Charles III intends to extend an offer for the United States to join the Commonwealth of Nations. It would be a small step backwards.
One would think, yeah, maybe even a big step backwards. Here is this article from earlier in the week. King meets Carney in symbolic support for Canada. And so this article goes through talking about how it's super important that the optics are looked after. So he's wearing a red tie. He's going to go visit Canada as soon as he can. The king was told by Carney says that his Order of Canada pin had broken and the king offered him his own. So they tell us it's all about the optics and then go through this ridiculous nonsense. The entire idea here is that the king is unwilling to offend Donald Trump over the Canada situation. They want everything to go smoothly. And the idea is that if the U.S. joins the Commonwealth, that'll take care of the Canada situation. And I don't want to deliver the punchline unless you were
which one
ready to deliver the punchline. But did you see this from this week?
Wait, which punchline are you talking about?
Check this out. You'll see.
Here's a question I ask. So Reagan has a place of prominence and George Washington has a place of prominence. And I've asked this question maybe 200 times. People come in. I said, so who would you put in the place of prominence, George Washington or Ronald Reagan? Who would you put?
Washington.
So far, it's 219-0. And they like Reagan.
Oh, I love Reagan.
But here's what they like more than anything. So this is the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
And they ask that this be done. It's never been up. It's been in the vaults for many, many decades. And they said, we have to do something like drapes or something because the light eventually affects it. And it's very cool.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder if the carpet matches.
Isn't that great? Just went up yesterday.
Wow.
Think Joe Biden would do this? I don't think so. Do you think he'd think of it? Do you think he knows what it is?
Wow.
No, but look at it. So
that's okay. Well, first of all, according to the movie National Treasure, I thought that was on display at one of the museums in Washington, D.C. Is that not the case? Was it actually in a vault the whole time?
I don't know. I definitely don't know. But I do know that while they are saying you are welcome to join the Commonwealth, if Donald Trump is putting the Declaration of Independence on the wall of the Oval Office, I don't think he's going to accept that invitation. And he actually on Truth Social today reposted the that article from The Sun about the secret offer.
And didn't he also say something like, I love King Charles, sounds good to me, or something? As if he's like all in on it. But
I think maybe
the Queen, man.
I think he said that maybe about going and visiting, but I don't know if he said it about
let me see.
Joining the Commonwealth. I certainly do not want to be part of the British Commonwealth anymore than we already are.
No, I don't either. I could have swore I saw him post that somewhere. He posts so much stuff on his True Social.
Sometimes it just goes on a tear.
I could have swore, but I can't find it. So
what are you going to do?
I don't know. Maybe sit here and scroll in silence for a while until it gets super awkward.
Can't even get a hold for processing or anything.
No, not going to do that. I'm just going to give up. So never mind. But I know he posted that. I'm not crazy. I promise. Yeah. Interesting storyline. The Canada thing is interesting because technically he's the monarch of Canada, but they try to tell us that it doesn't mean he's in charge. Their constitution and their elected officials that definitely are there from legitimate elections are in charge, not the king. But yeah, the whole thing is just weird. The timing of it. Why haven't we ever been extended an invitation into this Commonwealth before? Like we've been allies with them in UN and NATO and all these things. We've been the head of the NATO defense, right? Since World War II, biggest allies, but we're only now getting this invitation. Why is that? Why didn't the Queen ever extend this invitation to Trump before?
That mean old Queen.
Trump never should have walked in front of her.
I mean, man, there couldn't be more signs. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but there couldn't be more signs in the last few weeks that the British Commonwealth is collapsing.
Oh, yeah.
Volodymyr Zelensky showed up to greet the king in a sweatsuit. That would have never happened before, I don't think.
Well, which king? Trump
King
or
Charles?
Okay. So you did the same thing to Trump.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, also, they couldn't even give them a loan of their own money. They had to steal Russia's money to give them a loan.
Right.
They got no money. But yeah, it's all interesting. The gold stuff coming out of there. We haven't heard a peep about that. For a week straight, everybody in the world is like, we need to go check Fort Knox and see if the gold's there. And we haven't heard a peep about that.
It's amazing.
The Epstein files.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly we just go on to the next TV narrative.
Yep. Anyway, okay. So let's what was the next story I was going to get into? Oh man.
Did we go through them all just like really quickly? Are we too efficient?
I know there was another one. I was going to do a couple of his executive actions because there's one that just came out that I didn't even read yet. But did you see this one? I think this came out today. Preventing abuses of the legal system in the federal court.
I did not.
Yeah, this was earlier today. I haven't even read it. I just saw it when I was looking for this one about the security clearances, which I think is super interesting. Trump he's going balls to the wall, pushing he's crossing every constitutional limit that we thought existed, and he doesn't care. He wants the challenges in court. And didn't the Biden administration revoke his security clearance?
I don't recall.
I think they did. Because I remember he had a DOE security clearance for a period that they were called or revoked or something, didn't they?
That would have been totally useless.
Yeah. Anyway, but I think he's clearly like using his executive powers and targeting political enemies. And I think he's doing it. It's justifiable, but it's feeding into some of the narratives that the mainstream media were laying for him about him being like this dictator and all these things. But he doesn't care. He's just doing it anyway. And they're going to challenge it in court. And some rogue judge is probably going to come out and be like, yeah, you can't actually do that. And then it's going to get fought all the way up to the Supreme Court eventually 3 years from now. And we're going to find out that, yeah, he can actually do that. But in the meantime is what I'm curious about. While we wait and want this stuff to play out in the courts, I don't think Trump's going to let that actually stop his agenda. And so does the opinion of the court actually matter if he has the opinion of the people and the people are fully on board with what he's doing? And what is it going to take for them to get fully on board if they even care at all about Kamala Harris losing her security clearance? But let's say it comes out that the people that he just revoked security clearance from were committing other crimes or doing other things in line with some of this Doge stuff going on that you said, corrupt money, whatever. Who knows? There's a bucket full of crimes.
Or Rico Grande.
Rico Grande. Hell yeah. Any one of those things. Doesn't matter if it plays for the court if everybody in the United States is like, yeah, that we don't care that these people are evil, you know? And maybe that's where we're headed, is some disclosure.
The greatest thing about what's happening right now is that Donald Trump is the only person with credibility. He's the only person who has the obvious and overwhelming mandate from the people. And we can say that a lot of the people in his administration, on the fantasy team, whatever, have broad support in the American public right now. But if Trump exposed them for this or that at a moment's notice, they would be toast. No one would care about any of those people. None of the senators, none of the congressmen. The only person with actual legitimacy from the obvious overwhelming mandate of the people is Donald Trump. So if the courts try to overrule him and thwart what he's doing on behalf of the people as a legitimate servant of the people, and they have the quote unquote constitutional crisis that would follow, Trump's the only one that matters.
Yeah.
The people are behind Trump. Like, if you put Trump on one side and literally anybody else on the other side and said to the nation, choose, it would be Trump every single time.
Yeah. Which makes what we're witnessing that much more interesting, because Trump is still allowing some of this to play out as if he wants to preserve the system as it is, which I don't think that's the case. I don't think we want to stay in the current system of things under the same way we've been living for, hundreds of years, ever since 1870 when the Constitution was overthrown. Let's say that's the date. He's operating within this new perverted constitution and system, but I don't think he wants to stay here. And so how long is he going to operate within this system before he blows it all up, and metaphorically, and takes us to the old way or the new way, whatever?
It's possible that it's already gone, and we are just so accustomed to having everything translated through that layer that we're unable to recognize that he's operating on a different layer. Like, I think that he's operating in accordance with the original Constitution all the time, and understanding that he's playing and messaging within that false reality layer that kind of rests atop that.
That's interesting. But then what happens if, let's say, he's operating within the original Constitution, then we get to something to the Supreme Court and they don't rule in his favor, which would be in favor of the original Constitution. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I guess it would depend really on what the opinion was and what issue they were ruling on, in which direction. I don't see every Donald Trump quote unquote loss in court as a loss for the cause overall, because I believe the cause is getting us to understand that we are back on the original Constitution. And so if he is just putting an issue out there so that a court ruling comes down one way or another, reaffirming the original Constitution, if it's doing that, if the court's decision is reaffirming the original Constitution, then I don't care, and I don't think Trump cares about whether it's a win or a loss as far as like the optics would be concerned. But ultimately, the Supreme Court's going to have to be able to attest to their own legitimacy. And it's not looking great right now with Justice Roberts this week and the rest of it.
Yeah, that was a political statement he made, which they're not supposed to do. Another interesting thing on the judge situation, I think you shared a post, or you shared somebody else's post. It was a Twitter post. I don't remember who it was, but it was a great point, and I don't think enough people are talking about it. It's seeing how these judges are operating and what they're doing. What does that say about the talking point that, oh, they had 60 cases election cases come to the court, and every single one of them was shut down? You're witnessing how political, and these judges are activists. You don't think any of that took place back with the election stuff in 2020? I think it completely wipes out that talking point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we could talk about the plan and how maybe he wanted to get those decisions on the election cases. That's not, I don't think that's how it is. I think that he allows people to make the decisions they're going to make because he wants to know what he's actually dealing with. What does the landscape actually look like? And maybe judges would have been brave back then, but none were. Or maybe he said, thank you for your willingness to be brave, but let's just let this one go. We're going to live to fight another day. I don't know, whatever it is. But man, yeah, are the people who use that argument for 4 years going to come to terms with the fact that relying on court decisions is meaningless?
Yeah. I doubt it. I doubt they're going to do that.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to do that. But what you said there, when I first started my devolution research and looking at some of the actual court cases, some of them they did look, and again, very early on, they looked designed to fail. Like they weren't very good. I didn't think they were good arguments, all this stuff. But then you watch how Trump operates and you study the man, and he does just let people kind of do their thing, sometimes on his behalf or what people think is on their behalf, when really he's not endorsing it, he's not behind it. He's saying stuff publicly. But I think a lot of those court cases were just people who truly believed in Trump and the election was rigged and all those things, which were true. And they just did this on their own. Like Mike Lindell is a good example of that, I think. Like all the stuff that Mike Lindell does, he's a wealthy individual. He believes in America. He supports Trump. And I think Trump believes in him. But I don't think Trump is behind all the stuff that Mike Lindell has done along the way to fight for election integrity. I think Mike Lindell is just fighting for that on his own. And I think that happens in a lot of different areas. They're not Trump plans, but Trump supports these people and they can do what they want. But that doesn't mean it's going to take him off of his plan and where he's going towards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can certainly think of negative examples for that as well. But Mike Lindell is a positive example.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to the fact that like it's such an open playing field right now for people to like step up, take some risks, strike out on their own to try to get something done on behalf of Trump or on behalf of America First or Make America Great Again, or the cause, however you imagine it, or even just the cause of helping to build the parallel economy or cleaning out your local government or whatever it is. That's what this is all for. And he's created the space now where people can ascend in that kind of parallel system in a way that they couldn't before. And, you asked before about like what we can do to respond to these things. Well, we need to tune out from the mainstream bullshit and then get active along those avenues in whatever thing we are personally good at and able to do effectively to help.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we try to do here at Badlands. And like with these GARTs, which by the way, opportunity to get your GART tickets for Plymouth available right now, badlandsmedia.tv/events. These events are so inspiring in a lot of ways, but that's one of the things. It's getting these people together, these like-minded people, and building that community, and then them going and doing it on their own later with these Badlander groups. And that's how we take our country back. It's from the local level, right? We do things the best to our ability to keep pushing that forward. And that's why I think what we have here at Badlands is so special, because we have such a great community, just even in our chat, who like they're doing it on their own. People get involved in their local elections. I remember at this last GART in Vegas, God, what's her name? The Florida lady now. I thought I had Ida. Is that her name? I think it's Ida. She got up and talked about all the stuff she's doing down in Florida and the changes they're making. It's amazing to see how activated these people can get. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like on a bigger scale, a larger scale, getting everybody away from the previous and existing model into more of that local model. I think I don't know, and that kind of touches on that executive order that me and Bernie Bright talked about on Wednesday. The continuity and whatnot shouldn't be at the federal level. It should be up to you guys in your local communities to take care of yourselves in these emergency situations. Let's start talking about how we do that. I think that's the end game. It's getting away from the big federal bureaucracy that we have into a more localized community type government, like it should have been from the beginning.
Yeah.
What are the stories, man? I could have swore we had like 10.
I don't know. It did seem like we had a lot, but we kind of bounced through them pretty quickly.
Elon and Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
Commonwealth, NATO, AUTOPEN. Talked about the SNAP stuff. We might be through them all. But maybe we'll get some rants that'll spark some conversation. But before I read the rants and the boost, I'm going to do a quick Rumble Studio ad. If I can get it to work. We're going to talk about Rumble Premium. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they felt the pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you'll watch us on Rumble. Amen. And also, if you don't have the means to support something like Rumble or Badlands, you can just hit that thumbs up. That is just as big of a help as anything. And also, we're supposed to be getting our own Rumble promo code soon. It's been in the works for like a month. So if you guys want to be patient and wait, you can support Badlands in that process as well. But all right, man. Anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to do the boosts.
I don't know. Yeah, let's do the boost and rants and whatnot.
Okay, we'll see what happens. All right, got a few over on our website, the boost. Deb1776. First off, love all of the Badlanders. John, your Devolution series I've read starting the summer of 2021. Thank you. Drone show in Palm Beach, the F-47, an unlimited amount of drones with it. Deep state posts, and we're expecting a sky event. Connected? Question mark. Are we expecting a sky event?
I think maybe is that a Q post thing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I haven't heard anything about that, but there has been a lot of interesting air-related sky stuff going on. So maybe.
Isn't it weird how we heard for months, maybe years, Elon Musk saying it in particular about how manned fighter jets were a thing of the past, right? That everything was going to become drone warfare. And then all of a sudden we get the 6th generation.
That's very true. He like seeded that narrative. Did he know about it ahead of time or something?
I mean, I would particularly assume if the thing's actually been around for 5 years, that he must have known about it by the time he was saying it a year or two ago.
Yeah. I mean, his satellites probably would have picked it up at some point in the sky. From Butters for $34. Nikola Tesla would have probs have been a Badlands fan. I saw a quote from him describing EMF frequency versus the more subtle frequencies as retarded Hertzian waves.
Nicely done.
That's funny that they think just the use of the word retarded is what would make somebody like Tesla fan and not the rest of our content. Monty710 says, I love the new jet F-47. I bet Trump got to name it also. Wasn't it just next in line? Like 47?
I don't know.
I'm betting if you would have sold Badland hats at Gart, they would have sold out. And if you added the Cash app to your shows, it would bring in more money. Many times of us use that app. That's an interesting thought. I have a Cash app, but it's not connected to Badlands, except I only ever use it for Badlands stuff. So interesting thought. We'll think about it, man. The hats thing, I heard that from other people as well. We'll try to get hats at Plymouth. Monty710 again. John, thank you for listening to my story. My son, I was so bummed when you, Chris, and G-Money were all at our table and I lost my voice. I had so many stories to share about the shit that goes on in Las Vegas. Thanks for all you do. Yeah, I think I know who this is now. And thank you for the rants. And yeah, your story was pretty incredible, pretty moving.
Thank you.
And I think that's all we got over on there. Okay, let's see if you guys in the chat with the rants spark any topics for us. Since, well, I guess it's 11:15. We've been almost going 2 hours. Banish the shadow. I'm beginning to wonder if the much fabled trump card may be somewhat cheekily described as a royal flush. What does that mean? What do you think?
Down the drain? I don't know.
I don't know either. Micro Toolmaker for $117. Thank you, sir. Where we go one, we go all. Appreciate your support as always.
Flushing the British monarchy, I think maybe is what he's alluding to, but maybe not.
I like that interpretation though.
Was that a long time ago? Yeah, that must have been like the beginning of the show, huh?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That was before the show started.
Yeah, wow.
So thank you, Banish Shadow, but we don't know what you mean. Patrick J17, I want to thank you guys for being rollerbladers. One of my best friends had the contract for the ball bearings 30 years ago, making $87,000 a month. Nice meeting you too in Vegas, Gart.
Well, that is a wonderful income. I'm not a rollerblader. Who could ever imagine me being a rollerblader?
I could see it. I could kind of see it. You're probably the type of guy who had the shoes with the wheels on the back. You just like
definitely did. Dude, those were not even a thing when I was a kid.
I'm just kidding. No, but last night on the Liberty Den, we were talking about, I don't even know how we got into it. Were you there for that?
I don't know. What part? Rollerblading? I was.
Yeah. Well, we brought up Brink, the show Brink from Disney, where it's like rollerblading, super cool. Then they brought up some other movie, Gleaming the Knob or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? Gleaming the Cube, Gleaming something.
I've heard that sounds like a familiar title, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it was Gleaming the Cube. You got to go watch the trailer for this sometime because it's pretty hysterical. But it was like Gleaming the Cube was first, and then Brink was like the new version, and it got weird last night. It always does in the Liberty Den. Anyway, we'll keep going here. Andy Artist, I love when both of you are on. Thank you. We love when you're here watching and leaving rants. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Julie JN, Witkoff's spelling sounds like X22. Well, I met X22 and they're not the same person. They might sound alike. I don't know. 1027JS, good show tonight. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you. Wedged Gravy, Charles going to ask to be the 51st state as the only way to save England. Yeah,
would we accept them? That's the question.
I don't know. Would you? If we, I don't know. That's an interesting question because I don't think Trump actually wants any of these other states. Again, he just wants people to push for their own sovereignty. And if he said it himself about Greenland, if you guys choose to join the United States, we will gladly accept you. If every country in the world ended up like getting their own freedom and sovereignty somehow and wanting to be part of the United States, would Trump accept them too? It's an interesting question. The New World Order, the one world government would be that of the Constitution of the United States.
Trump is the king of the world. I said it in November when he went to Notre Dame.
You did. You called it. Tamara S., who is the they that wanted the Declaration of Independence in the Oval and why? It's a good question.
I guess we can watch. Do you want to watch it again?
Let's watch it again.
Let's watch it again. I'm going to skip it forward just a little bit. Oops, sorry.
So this is the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
And they ask that this be done. It's never been up. It's been in the vaults for many, many decades. And they said, we have to do something like drapes or something because the light eventually affects it. And it's very cool.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that great? Just went up yesterday.
Wow.
Think Joe Biden would do this? I don't think so. Do you think he'd think of it? Do you think he knows what it is?
Wow.
No, but look at it. So, but this was, none of these pictures were up. Oh, you know, very few. It's like very little. And it's been great.
Now, there was a lot made on another network about your bringing in the gold accents to Trumpify the Oval Office.
It needed a little life.
So you have the mantle and you have the cherubs from, is that from Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, that's actually, they're gold, all gold. Look, and it's angels. They say angels bring good luck, and we need a lot of luck in this country with what they've done over the last 4 years. So take a look. Do you know that little secret? I don't know if you're going to waste your time putting this on, but throughout the years, people have tried to come up with a gold paint that would look like gold, and they've never been able to do it.
Can't do it.
You've never been able. Look at that look. You've never been able to match gold with gold paint. That's why it's gold. And this is very important. Very
So
proud of this.
people were suggesting online, I'm not the person who thought of this, but that was an allusion to the Fort Knox thing and how people have talked about, they're just going to be bars painted gold.
Was his office like this cluttered with this much stuff in the first term? Because he has stuff everywhere. All the walls are covered. He's like becoming a hoarder.
It looks like it's his man cave or something.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember the first or the first term or whatever being like that. He's got stuff everywhere.
I love how he's kept the Gulf of America sign there for weeks.
It's like instead of having like a Cyndi Lauper poster on his wall, he's got the Gulf of America poster just right next to it on an easel too, right next to his desk. So funny. Yeah, I would like to see a listing of every picture in there. It's great. But all right, we'll go back to this. And well, first of all, going back to the rant, it didn't seem like he said they told me to have this in there. They said I need to have drapes on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I forgot to pay attention to that exact thing.
The whole reason that we pulled it up.
Yeah.
All good. Let's see. Trump pulling back the curtain regarding the Declaration of Independence. Remember that meeting or that painting that Dan Scavino posted about way back in the day where it's like my final portrait or something.
Yeah.
Hoista says, hey guys, love y'all. Chris Paul's a national treasure. Could you possibly give my son Barrett a birthday shout out? He'll be 11 on Monday.
Hey, happy birthday, Barrett. Your mom has great taste.
How do you know that's not a dad?
I am fairly certain that I have seen Hoistis refer to herself.
Okay.
As a
fair
woman.
enough.
But I could be wrong.
I agree. You are a national treasure. Happy birthday to Barrett.
Thanks, John.
You're far more a national treasure than Nicolas Cage ever was.
Well, now Nicolas Cage is fantastic.
Have you met Nicolas Cage? I bet you have.
I have not met Nicolas Cage. No.
I love the National Treasure movies. My son's kind of getting into them now. And they're like not even that good, but they're so good. That doesn't make sense, but it makes total sense if you've watched the movies.
You know what? I have not watched the movies, but I will recommend a Nicolas Cage movie to everyone. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It is so good and funny and kind of lighthearted. It's like something you can watch and
this is a new one.
Generally feel offended. It's a couple years old. Yeah.
Huh. I've never seen it.
It is fantastic.
All right. Put that on my list of movies I'll never get to.
A rollicking good time. Also really interesting story elements in the way that it kind of weaves things together.
Okay. Check it out. You guys should do it on Story Hour.
One day.
Keith O'Higgins says, why does Victoria Nuland still have a clearance? I thought, didn't he take hers away?
I would not. That's one of those things that I would not keep on recall.
Yeah.
I would trust the machine.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So President Trump suspended all security clearance with Covington and Burling, which is where she worked. So I don't know if that would specifically include her or if she still keeps hers for separate reasons. But good question, Keith. Wags Flag 73. Are there any Badlanders groups that meet up in Iowa? Any info would be appreciated. The show is the best as always. Thanks, John and Chris, for your dedication and drive to find truth. Thank you for the rant. For anybody interested in finding local groups in your area, if you go to badlandsmedia.tv and then /groups, badlandsmedia.tv/groups, it'll take you to this little form that you fill out. And somebody will contact you or give you the information from your area, if there is one in your area. And there's like 60 or more groups all across the country. So odds are there's one in Iowa. So I would encourage you to go to badlandsmedia.tv/groups, fill out the form, and somebody will be in touch with you. Keith O'Higgins, I have to mention that the judge who ordered the plane of gang members turned around is a member of Skull and Bones. Don't tase me, bro.
He was also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I read last week, he was Brett Kavanaugh's roommate at Yale.
Boasberg?
Yep.
No way.
I'll try to find it while you continue.
Well, I was just going to show Trump's Truth Social post about Doug Emhoff right next to Boasberg at whatever this thing is. A 2022 mock trial. And what is this? What is going on with this lady on the right here?
I don't know. It's quite an outfit she has on.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll keep reading while you look for that.
Yes, he was.
Pull it up. Show me. That's insane, man. Of course he was.
Here we are. This is State Media NPR. And State Media would never lie.
They would not.
Yeah, there we are.
One of his roommates. Huh.
Yeah. It's all so strange. And did you see the thing about Justice Roberts in a secret society of lawyers and judges called the Inns of Court?
I did see that. I didn't have anything prepped for it, though. I read one small blurb, but maybe it was a Twitter post I didn't even know if it was true.
Yeah.
It's so stupid, man. The judicial courts and how they all do that stuff. And Roberts coming out in defense of Boasberg, now knowing that he was also Kavanaugh's roommate, makes that even more slimy.
I'm 100% in agreement with that. The secret society element is one of those things that I believe should suggest to people who don't believe it's possible that top-down control could be so intricate and so all-encompassing. Like, yes, it can. All you need is people coordinating activity behind the scenes when it matters. It's not like it's on everything. It doesn't have to be on everything, but it's when it matters. And then the incentive structure to keep impressing those people and ascend within the party of false decorum structure in all of those organizations will solve all the rest of them that aren't coordinated. They'll know, oh, I should decide this way to do this favor for this person, because it's going to give me an in over here. That's how people operate.
So gross, man.
It really is.
And Trump's like completely disrupting that too, I think. I wonder if we get exposure on the secret society stuff, because anytime anybody talks about that, you're labeled as this crazy, baseless conspiracy, whatever. And I know we've talked about it on the shows, but there's a lot connected. Prussiagate does a pretty good job diving into some of the secret society stuff. There's meat on those bones, man. And I wonder if we actually get that exposed on a level, or is that one of those, the choice to know will be yours? Only if you're interested, you could find it, you know?
I feel like maybe it's all that. And I was talking about this the other day, and Brian and I discussed it briefly yesterday on Daily, but with the JFK files, I was like saying to, the audience on my stream on Wednesday, it was like, you guys have come to your opinions about what happened in the JFK assassination, and maybe you think it's the Dulles brothers, or it's George H.W. Bush as director of the CIA, or it's Israeli intelligence, or it's the CIA,
the Jews,
the Chicago mob, or whoever it is. You've come to those conclusions based on information that certainly wasn't locked away or redacted up until Monday, right? So there was enough information out there, enough analysis out there. You did enough digging, enough research to reach those conclusions on your own. And I was just like, I don't know that if there was some document that came out that said, yeah, you know what? It turns out there was a second gunman on the grassy knoll, like that, it would even move the needle for people, unless the TV was like, yeah, that was it. Because otherwise they'd just be like, okay, you've given me this authoritative source, this official document that I've never seen before. But how does that override all these other official documents that say it was Lee Harvey Oswald on his own.
And like all the official documents that actually tell the truth don't exist. They've been destroyed.
Of course.
Like, they're not going to tell us any of that stuff. And I still think it was interesting. And maybe you were on the show yesterday when we talked about this, but when Trump was asked directly about who killed Kennedy by Ducey in the or Ducey, whatever, in the White House, and he's like, I don't know. You'll have to look and kind of see for yourself. He didn't say Lee Harvey Oswald, which was interesting. He's like, here, guys, here's your opportunity to, come up with the conclusion on your own, full well knowing that the actual answer wasn't in there.
I think I have that if you want to see it.
Yeah, let's play the clip. But I think it's so interesting. He didn't say Lee Harvey Oswald. And the whole point of being a journalist, like Peter Ducey, is to like dig on that stuff, right? You're supposed to go in and do the research, whatever. It has been interesting how many different narratives have spun out of the release, because it's somehow perfectly matched with everybody's preconceived notions of who did it. Like everybody who's always been Israel's behind everything, which may be true, is like, well, this clearly says Israel did it. And then everybody who's like, the CIA did it. It's the CIA. Like, it's perfectly fit everybody's narrative.
Any questions?
Mr. President Trump,
Peter?
80,000 pages of documents is a lot to sift through. Can you just tell us who killed Kennedy?
Well, I was given the task of releasing that because many presidents have gone through it and they haven't released. And I said, release. We even released Social Security numbers. I didn't want anything deleted. They said, so what about Social Security? People long gone, but they're long gone, so I can't imagine. But I said, if you don't delete it, if you do delete it, we have people are going to say, why did you delete it? There's something in it. So we gave Social Security and we gave everything. And the rest is for you to look at, Peter. You're going to see whether or not you see anything. But we've given it. We're doing it with Dr. Martin Luther King, too. They're preparing all of that. They're going to release everything. And whoever else they want. I mean, we have nothing. We really have nothing to hide. We shouldn't have. When a lot of time goes by. But with the Kennedy files in particular, they were going crazy on. I don't think there's anything that's earth-shattering, but you'll have to make that determination. In those, it's 80,000. It's actually 88,000, and we have some additional things, as you know, come out today. And for that, you can go to the offices and you can see whatever you want to see. Everything is out there, totally open. The additional stuff is available later on today. You go over to the offices and you can have it immediately. And you'll make a determination.
And on something else, these Tren de Aragua guys, because of your executive order, they are designated as foreign terrorists.
Two things. One thing I noticed this time around that I didn't notice the first time is when he's first asked the question, his first response is, I was given the task of releasing those things. Not like I decided we should release those things. He says it, I was given the task of releasing those things. Makes me wonder who gave him the task. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you even want to rewind it to just his very first response, like right.
Yeah. I mean,
right here.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us who killed Kennedy?
Well, I was given the task of releasing that because many presidents.
Interesting choice of words. But then again, he never said Lee Harvey Oswald. So fascinating. I also saw somebody in the chat saying something about you always say how we can help by giving timestamps of stuff that we want clipped. That is a great point and a great reminder for people. If you are particularly moved by something said on one of these shows and you think we should clip it, you can clip it yourself and share it around, or you can tell us what you want clipped and we can do that for you too. Just respond in a Twitter post or something. We'll get on that.
Yeah, that's a huge help. And it helps us help you. Like, one of the things that we hear so much is, you guys do these long shows. It's really difficult for me to send someone a 2-hour show and expect them to watch it because it's just going to be so daunting just seeing 2 hours. And we totally get it. The only other option is then to attempt to create content that maximizes for virality and shareability. The other option is let us know what you want to be able to share. We can clip it and then we'll post it, or, you can do screen record on your phone and you post it. I will always happily repost anyone's posts who's putting good information in front of me that I think needs to be amplified. Like, feed it up and I'll make it go wider.
That's what she said. We have an Instagram now, guys, by the way, Badlands Media Official. And we have like 9,000 followers over there. And we're starting to post like clips, multiple a day from all our shows, as long as we get people who want them clipped. So when our creators put stuff out there, and we have a chat for it. But yeah, if you guys have timestamps, let us know, and we'll likely end up getting it on this social media. We're going to start using our Rumble Clips channel again. We have our YouTube channel. We're trying to get the shorter clips out there. So don't be afraid to let us know stuff that you want clipped as well, and we'll work on getting it up.
That's what she said.
There you go. I was waiting for you to say it. That's the worst part about the daily show that I do now is whenever I have to, like, that's what she said myself. It's just never quite the same, but I still do it anyway.
I like it.
Thanks, man. Idea for a panel from Lindy for $5. Attendees who have local action stories. Is that an attendee panel then? We do provide opportunity for attendees to get up and speak on the mic and tell their stories. Banish the shadow. I seem to recall that the Queen directed Donald J. Trump to walk in front of her, and almost everyone missed that part. She also wasn't a big fan of any of her children, including Charles. I didn't know she directed him to do that. Keith Higgins, hey, Johnson's an entire cow is edible. Maybe Badlands Media could partner with new sponsors, Rattlesnake Meats, and offer an Ash in America bag of dicks special package. That's a great idea. I wonder if Ash would be on board with that. Valseco 16, you guys need to step up your emoji chat game. Oh yeah, I could probably update those. Patriot 17, time to discuss. You guys keep saying gold shell and the Fed. The posts continually say gold shell and the Fed. No, is Fed possibly foreign exchange derivatives?
That's interesting. I would not be one of the guys that keeps saying that.
I don't say that either. So thank you for the rant. But
that is a very interesting thought.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, I'd ask the Eye of the Storm boys about that one. The Meerkat, or G-Money. The Meerkat, here's a tactic for Trump. Okay, Iran, we won't attack Iran if Iran discloses to us all the U.S. traders who actually sent the U.S. funds to Iran to pay the Houthi and the other CIA-funded terrorist groups. That's a good tactic, but I feel like they already probably know, if I had to guess. Don't need Iran to tell them. Ash 1776 says, Anna Paulina Luna's JFK hearing is supposed to be this week. Oh. Can't wait for that. But it's going to be real exciting.
It said APL in a rant, John. I'm just saying.
I thought we had a $20 limit or something, but we'll do it. We'll do it.
I mean, we got to give Ash one, you know?
Yeah, I'm down. Ash has been great. If you guys haven't seen, we're doing the Badlands Live 9 to 5 now, where Ash and Ghost are playing a big part of that. Jessica behind the scenes too. It's literally we have some sort of live coverage going all day long on Badlands from 9 to 5. So you can tune in at any point. You can, maybe it's hearings. This week it'll probably at some point have Anna Paulina Luna's Super Real Subcommittee hearing. Very much excited to watch that. I was just going to look something up and I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, somebody sent us an outro video that we got to play. Apparently it's the North Korean military chorus.
Oh, wow.
The anti-Karen, great topics tonight. One I'm interested in, if you think giving power back to the states may drive Dems and blue states to further terrorize the people through more taxation and regulations. Well, that's a layered question, because if you fix our election system, we may not have blue states anymore. But yeah, I mean, people would probably end up leaving those states. But again, if you have real elections, they're not going to vote for that.
People already are, because of how the Democrats are terrorizing their people already. But, you know, it's not like the uniparty right controlling the quote unquote red states is all that much different. It's just a different set of tactics. You know, have you been paying attention to any of the property tax stuff in Texas?
Not really, no.
It's so Chris Jersky, one of the election integrity guys who's been hammering at election integrity for years now. He's been highlighting this issue with property taxes. There are all these massive school bonds, and the money that needs to be set aside to implement the agendas that they're implementing, and whatever the money is, billions of dollars that they're spending, they need that money from somewhere. It has to come from property taxes. And in order to raise that amount of money in property taxes, they need to be constantly reassessing the homes at higher and higher values so that they can collect more property taxes.
What?
It is, I mean, if that story is the way it seems, I spent half an hour on it last week and I didn't like go deep into it or anything. But if that is really the way things are going down, that is like a level of corruption that is almost unimaginable.
Yeah, and it's probably not just happening in Texas. I mean, look at the home values all over the country.
Right, exactly. And while the school spending and stuff is expanding, and while they're worried about federal funding being cut in all these different ways, they're just going to try to bilk everybody for every last cent at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting to see how we move forward, because the corruption and the wasteful, government spending isn't just at the federal level; it's everywhere. And taxes are unconstitutional, in my opinion. And I'm not the only one that has that opinion. How are we going to go from the way we run things now to the way they should be? It's just going to be interesting to see it dissect its way through. You know what I mean? I don't know if we can do it in 4 years. I'd like to think we can, but maybe Trump 2028 is a real thing. Maybe we need to meme that into reality. Let's keep going here. Valseco says, Here, Chris is a national treasure. John is a glod-plated platinum bar. Didn't even spell gold right. JK, this is all from you, John. We're grateful for you. Well, thank you for the rant. Not sure I love that one, though. The Meerkat, good outro for someday. North Korea military chorus, Rage Against the Machine. That should probably be our outro tonight. If you're down with that. Miss Rhea, Freedom Fighter, great show. Watch the Michael Douglas movie Star Chamber. Don't think I've ever heard of that. And then Melindy says, very good civics lesson, how democracy lost its meaning. Take note of that as well. That's all.
John,
we got
did you see, are you familiar with Kentucky Fried Movie? Bay Theater Dave sent this to me the other day about the JFK.
What is it called?
Hold on. This is amazing. The JFK board game from Kentucky Fried Movie, I think it's called. Watch this. This is before we go, this is hilarious.
Well, could this be our outro? Because
wait, hold on.
Family. Scott.
There we go. Well, it could be, but I don't know. Do we want to hear Rage Against the Machine? They're such commie cucks.
Well, here, it's the chorus though. Let me show you my screen and we'll see if this is a good outro.
Okay.
Then I'll let you decide.
Okay. Well, weird North Korea killing in the name of.
Yeah, that'd be weird to probably play that as an outro. Now that I think about it. Let's use your outro.
We Are the World, sung by AI dictators. Cool. Totar Win. Cool. Killing in the name of by the North Korean chorus. Maybe crossing the line.
We found the line though. It's good to know where it's at.
I'll tell you what, they look like they're doing all right, considering that it's like a totally destroyed communist nation.
Yeah, but I think let's do the JFK board game for tonight. We'll think on it more, sleep on a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to watch that in full before we commit.
Yeah, it's probably not the best idea to just be like taking random links from viewers in the chat and be like, let's use this as an outro without any viewing beforehand. But all right, everybody.
I think we got one last minute rant. Fox01, $5. Weird, but at TSMC, all the stainless fittings came from Taiwan, not from a union shop. Same with a lot of other things. Okay.
Interesting.
Really interesting.
The whole chips manufacturing and the investment into the United States now, it's, I don't know, the whole story is crazy because this stuff was lined up beforehand, but they didn't want it to happen. Some of it kind of started happening under Biden, but you couldn't get the full investment from like the TSMC, NVIDIA and stuff without the groundwork laid by Biden, which was actually laid by Trump. The whole thing's fascinating. But yeah, we're going to end it here, guys. Hit that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure you stick around tomorrow night. I have the Storm Boys and Burning Bright on the narrative, and then back to the regular schedule on Monday. If you're following us on all our socials, we post the weekly schedule. So yeah, that's all we got.
Here we go.
New from Barker Brothers, a game for the entire family. Scot-free. Your team has just assassinated the president. Can you get away scot-free? Shake the dice and see. Great, you found a patsy. Go again. Bonus card. You get Jack Ruby to kill your patsy. That's good because dead men don't talk. Oh no, Abraham Zapruder films the assassination. Tough break, but now you go again. And a stroke of luck, 22 material witnesses die of unnatural causes. Now your opponent shakes again. Uh-oh, look out, Life magazine buys the Zapruder film. But you buy Life magazine and show the frames out of sequence. You're almost home. Now you must spin the public opinion board. You've done it! The public believes it! You're scot-free! Available from Barker Brothers.